Hello everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everybody, Cantonese Cat. I'm going to try to tell you my rationale for the everything rally without making this video too long. I'm going to go through a lot of the indexes, IWM, RK Fund, Gold, China, Japan, Bitcoin, and maybe a little bit of Nvidia. I'm going to try to be very, very ambitious about this. First of all, if you just look at the Fibonacci retracements and extension level, if you use the 2022 high to 2022 low, and you draw this Fibonacci sequence here, you can see that we have actually broke above for the S&P 500. This is the SPY fund. We have broken above the 1.618 level. This is generally a pretty important resistance level. Once that is being broken, generally price might backtest a little bit, but then it tends to gravitate up towards the next Fibonacci retracement level, which is 2.618. It's going to be pretty close to around $700. And I think there's a good chance that the S&P 500 would end up doing that. Now, you may not believe in technical analysis, and that's okay. Generally, market likes to go up over time. I think that every 30, 40 years or so, you're going to have like a lost decade like you did over here with the dot-com bubble and the great financial crisis. I think these things generally happen when things are way over leveraged. The dot-com bubble was absolutely over leveraged, and you have these companies that are just valuations gone insane. Whereas the great financial crisis, you have the housing sector and banking, which is way over leveraged. But currently, you actually don't really have that problem. You know, you can argue like national debt is going up over time, but that's just always been the case. So regardless, we don't really have, necessarily that issue. So if you are looking at the S&P 500 being a growth assets, and they're going to continue to try to pump money anyway to try to grow things because they want people to be happy about their 401k. They don't want people to be upset about the their financial retirement finances to kind of keep going down. So they're going to want to try to print as much money as they can, and that's just kind of how the scam works. And that's okay if you're in assets. If you're somebody who has money, you want to be in assets, right? If you're just looking at something called a Gantt square, and Gantt square is a way to actually draw different squares and different arcs based on Fibonacci levels, and all of these are more or less based on the number 45. I just basically entered the number, the duration is going to be around 720 here, and the ratio is going to be 1. And if I do that, it turns out to give me a very, very beautiful market symmetry here for S&P 500. Basically, you have price kind of tech one arc to another. If it gets rejected, one arc came back down to the arc underneath of it to backtest, right? Eventually, it's going to break through this arc over here, backtest to arc, went to the next arc, got a lot of resistance here, right? Next thing you know, went to this arc up here around the peak of the 2021-2022 rally, and that really came back down pretty hard, right? Now we finally kind of pushed through that, and right now we have gone through about the 1.618 Fibonacci level. So that's why I think the next level is going to probably gravitate to be around $700, and it could happen somewhere around like maybe late 2025 or sometime in 2026. I do not know exact time, but it does look like price wants to gravitate up towards this level. Now, when it gets to that level, you're probably going to have some pretty hard rejection either through price or through time. We'll see what happens, but I do think that price can probably end up gravitating towards the arc up here, just like it did before, the time before and the time before that. So that's probably going to end up being around like 700, wherever that ends up landing, right? Now, you can say that, okay, so you're just kind of, messing around the number. What if you like change the GAN, and does it mean that, if you end up changing, let's say, for example, I change the ratio to 5, does it give me some market symmetry here, and does it give me some other level here that tells me I should be a little bit more cautious? The answer is yes, right? So for example, if I change the number to 5, you can see that it still gives you some pretty remarkable market symmetry, where the arc has been serving as some pretty strong resistance here over here, and we're getting close to the next arc over here. So does it mean that we're going to have a pretty bad correction, kind of going sideways here for a very, very long time, or even kind of get rejected here and go down back to like the 400s, back test the previous all-time high? All these things are very possible, right? With the exception that I think there are a couple of things that makes it less likely. The first thing is that if you look at the global liquidity, which is going to be shown by the M2 Global Liquidity Index here, you can see that if you just look at global liquidity, we just had a breakout of the global liquidity. We just had a breakout. What happened last time where you had a breakout of the global liquidity? Well, last time we had a breakout of global liquidity, we had a little bit of a COVID event, so price actually got down here, but eventually it's just because of this increased global liquidity, we're able to push through the arc here pretty easily and went up to this level over here, right? Because of the increased pump of global liquidity. What happened the time before that? Let's see. Well, you also have a breakout of global liquidity over here, where if you can draw a line over here, you can see that price, when the global liquidity was just kind of stuck sideways, price was just also kind of stuck sideways, and it went down with the arc here a little bit, right? That was a pretty brutal correction from like 2014, 2016. But then eventually, after you have a breakout of global liquidity, you're able to break above this arc and went up higher, right? So currently, I think we're at a juncture where even though we're at resistance, I think we probably have enough juice if the global liquidity just had this breakout to really push through the arc and go up higher. And if we end up pushing the arc and go up higher, where's the next level naturally is going to be? Well, the next level is going to be using the 720 and 5 instead of 721. It's still going to be the same. It's still going to be around like 700s, right around the horizontal zone right here. So there's a lot of confluence no matter how you look at it again. It does look like it wants to travel up here around the 700s or so before it has any major serious correction. The global liquidity is really a tailwind for something like that to happen. Now, another thing that makes me feel that I think we're going to probably do okay is you just look at the RSI. And if you look at RSI, you can see that there has been a RSI peak over here. There's an RSI peak over here too. And then currently we also have a little bit of an RSI peak over here, right? So if I just kind of look a little bit more in depth into it, it does look like we are wanting to have a little bit of a breakout over here and a little bit of a back test over here. Now, this over here can signal that maybe we do have enough juice to kind of break the momentum indicator here to go higher, right? It really does look like there's a potential for it to break through this arc up here to get to the next level over the next couple of years. And that is kind of what I'm looking at. Again, we're a little bit of resistance here based on the GAN here with the 5, but 1 is generally more reliable. And that's usually what a number you're supposed to start with anyway. We're also above a very important Fibonacci level, which is the 1.618. So I actually feel pretty good about the S&P 500, continue to push through and actually have a pretty good 2025, 2026. And then we'll talk after that. And I think there might be some, potentially some pretty important, correction that can happen after that. So we'll see. A couple other things too, I always like to look at, is it overextended in terms of the Bollinger Band? No, it's not. It's still within the monthly Bollinger Band, which is a good thing. Is it a little bit too far away from the Tenkan? A little bit too far, but not entirely far enough that I need to worry, because you already had a correction back in August to touch the Tenkan backtest almost perfectly, and basically market just screams that it wants to go higher. So because you already had this kind of deleveraging, you already had this backtest, I think that price would probably want to gravitate a little bit higher over time. So that's kind of how I'm seeing here with the S&P 500. I'm going to go through the other ones here real quick. The QQQ. And without looking at anything else, I basically have the Fibonacci level drawn here. Same thing, right? From the 2021 peak to the 2022 low. With the QQQ, it's kind of lagging behind a little bit because we got rejected here at 1.618, almost to the dollar. And it just kind of came back down. And right now we're still underneath 1.618. There's still going to be a little bit of resistance here around 504, right? But if you look at the GAN here that I've drawn, and again, I've also drawn this based on 720 and 1, you can see that it looks like it's got some really beautiful market symmetry, just like the S&P 500 chart. And it looks like there's some additional juice to kind of hit the potentially a 2.618 level around 2025, 2026. So there's a potential for it to get close to around the high 600s, maybe even 700s, right? Very similar to the S&P 500. There's a potential for it to kind of get up here. Now, if you are looking at the GAN, and if, let's say, for example, we look at 5 to see whether or not it's at any kind of resistance level, the answer is yes. That's also part of the reason why we have a hard time really breaking about this level, because if you look at the GAN in a little bit of a different way, again, this GAN also gives you some really beautiful market symmetry, by the way. Arcs serve as support here, arcs serve as resistance as support over here, and arcs serve as a perfect resistance over here. So this also gives you a very beautiful market symmetry. You can see that it's also getting rejected here at the horizontal line over here, right? So we are building up a lot of energy trying to push through again. Do I think it's going to push through? Yes, because of the global liquidity, you're breaking out of this trend line over here. So I do think that because of that, we probably have enough juice to continue to go up on global liquidity and also continue to go up on the QQQ here as well. The other thing to look at this, let's see. If you're asking me whether or not the QQQ is being overextended, the answer I have for you is no. I think that it also backtests the Ichimoku cloud almost perfectly at the Tenkan over here around September, and also passed through that around August. So I don't think we're overextended here by any means. I actually think the QQQ probably end up outperforming the S&P 500 to continue a bull trend. I'm going to show you a little bit as to why I think that. Is it overextended on the bull in Japan? No, it's not. So it's probably got some juice to kind of go a lot higher. What I mean by I think the S&P 500 is going to end up lagging behind the QQQ again, and this could actually be a very, very good positive sign for the overall stock market, because for the market to really get heated up again, you really want the S&P 500 to kind of lag behind the QQQ a little bit. The QQQ is supposed to be a little bit more like a risk on. The Nasdaq is a little bit more risk on compared to S&P 500. So I actually want to see the QQQ kind of pick up some pace and outperform the S&P 500, which it has been doing for the most part, except that it's just been performing about the same compared to the S&P 500. And over the last 4 months, it's kind of underperformed here. This is a QQQ over S&P 500 chart, by the way. So if you look at this, the ratio, if this goes higher, that means that the Nasdaq is outperforming the Nasdaq is outperforming S&P 500. If it goes down, that means that the S&P 500 is outperforming the Nasdaq. And generally that happens in a bear market, which is exactly what happened in 2022. You want the Nasdaq to outperform the S&P 500 in a bull market. And I think it will, because you just look at the Bollinger Band, and this is a monthly Bollinger Band. You have the 20-month moving average here. Whenever you have like a beginning of this kind of uptrend, and you have like a little bit of a test here, if you pass the test, which I think we will, by the way, because it's very positive sloping here on the 20-month moving average. If you're able to pass this back test here after we break through here, that means that we're probably going to go up a lot higher. That means the QQQ is probably going to outperform the S&P 500 by a lot moving forward, right? And that's exactly what it does for the entire bull market that you had, the cycle bull market that you had really since even during the great financial crisis, which is absolutely insane, right? But I do think that the trend is that the Nasdaq is going to continue to outperform the QQQ. Sorry, it's going to outperform the S&P 500. And I think right now we have the Bollinger Band squeeze here, which means that there's going to be a bigger move to come up. And when the bigger move come up, I think it's going to the upside. So you're going to see some pretty eye-popping outperformance of the Nasdaq over the QQQ, which is a very, very interesting thing to think about. Why do I think that might be the case? Well, the stock market's darling this cycle is really Nvidia, right? And if you look at the Nvidia chart, this is again that I drew. I do like 7, 20, and 5. And what you end up going to see here is some very, very beautiful market symmetry here, where each of these angle and each of these arc means something, right? It's either serve as resistance or support level, and then it end up crowding up to either a horizontal level here, find perfect support, hit a hard time breaking through the arc, eventually is able to backtest the arc almost perfectly. And right now, where are we at right now? We went up to this arc here after the initial rejection over here. We went up to this arc up here. And we got rejected here at the arc for about 4 months in a row. This month so far, we're breaking above. And that is a very, very important indication that when we're breaking above that, where's the next level is going to gravitate to? It's going to be around 350. Is it going to go right up there all the way? Or is it going to go sideways to hit that area around maybe early 2026? I do not know. But if Nvidia looks like it had a breakout, then I think the broader market, I think QQQ is going to do relatively well, especially over S&P 500. It does look like Nvidia wants to make potentially another close to like a 3x to maybe end the bull market. That's what I'm really kind of looking at right now. Now, because of that, I really cannot be bearish on the greater large caps, because I think the S&P 500 is going to do okay. It just broke about 1.618. I think the QQQ and the Nasdaq is going to do okay because it looks like it could be performing or outperforming S&P 500 soon based on the ratio chart, based on the fact that it's right at the 20-month moving average pointing up. So it's probably going to push the Nasdaq up. You have Nvidia outperforming, right? So all these things are pointing to be very, very good signs so far. What other sign is there that there could be an everything rally coming? Well, look no further than the IWM. The IWM has also got some really beautiful market symmetry here. I drew this again here. I think I based this on this candle over here at the death of the dot-com bubble burst, right? And I'm doing 720 and 1 here. And what you're seeing here is some pretty beautiful market symmetry. You know, it's been respecting arc and horizontal pretty well over the years. You know, like rejection, where exactly where you're expecting to get rejected at. And you have basically flipped this resistance zone over here from resistance here to support. You backtested the arc here multiple times, right? And right now, where are we at right now? You know, over here, initially we got rejected here at the angle and just kind of went back down, backtested the arc. Held the arc, we are now reclaiming this horizontal level over here. The horizontal level over here is also magically the 0.618 level from the previous cycle high to the cycle low. This is the 0.618 Fibonacci retracement level, which is a very, very important level. You got rejected over here, but right now we basically pushed through that, or we backtested support a couple times already. If we are able to break above the 0.786, then you're talking about it could go up in a hurry. That's why bears have been really trying to push and make sure that we don't get through the 0.786 that easily. Because if we're able to push through the 786, then that's it. Like the bears are done. They're toasted, right? You have a little bit of a handle here, or a bull flag, whatever we call it, on this big giant cup here. It can go on for longer. I don't care. But I really think that the 0.618 here is going to serve as some pretty strong support here around like 213, 212, or even 210, a little bit lower. It can wick down a little bit lower. But I really think that we're a very, very strong support. Big giant cup over here. Looks like we're building a lot of energy to kind of push through above. Again, same thing, right? You're talking about global liquidity. And I was showing you the same thing here in terms of global liquidity. You just had a breakout here. You just literally had a breakout here on the global liquidity. And what did it do? Well, IWM also, you know, the Russell 2000 also similarly had a breakout of the 0.618. And also this horizontal zone over here, right? And I just think that we got enough juice to kind of push us about further now that we're actually at a very, very good area here. And once we push through 0.618, I really do think the next level is going to gravitate to is the 1.618, which is close to around $300. It can go past that. It can go to the arc above that. Do I think it's going to go beyond that this cycle? I don't know. But I also can see potentially it can hit this this angle up here again. So it can go even higher. It can potentially go to the 2.618 level over here around April 2026 or March 2026. That is possible. It is possible for it to happen. Why do I think it's possible for it to happen? Is it all based on GAN? No, it's also based on a lot of other potential things here. There are basically a lot of economic cycles that you can see here on the IWM. If you just look at Ichimoku, you can see that you have had, really ever since the recovery of the great financial crisis, you have had about like 3 cycles here, right? Cycle number 1 here, where it started with this backtest of the Ichimoku cloud. And you also had a bullish Tenkan Kijun cross that, you know, allowed the bull market went on for about like 3 years after that, right? Cycle number 2, backtest of the Ichimoku cloud, bullish Tenkan Kijun cross, bull market happened for about 2 years. What happened after that? This cycle is a little bit weird because of COVID, but basically you have a backtest of Ichimoku cloud, right? And you have the bullish cross over here of the Tenkan Kijun, went up for about 1.5 years, right? What are we having right now? Backtest of Ichimoku cloud, and right now we have a Tenkan Kijun cross. Actually, we have a katana here where those two are fused together. It looks like it just started to have an expansion here with the Tenkan Kijun. I think that Fundstrat is right. I think that, you know, whatever it is that they're talking about, I think it might be the beginning of a very strong bull market for IWM, right? And if you're looking at potential target, I think there's enough juice over here to potentially push up to this arc over here. I really do, right? The other thing to look at is also look at a Bollinger Band. Whenever you have the 20-month moving average turn from negative sloping to positive sloping, some good things happen for about like, you know, 2 to 3 years. Negative sloping to positive sloping, bull market 2 years over here. Negative sloping, positive sloping, bull market for about 2.5 years. flat to positive sloping bull market for like 3 years, right? So I think we are maybe just beginning. We may have another 12 to 18 months of bull market ahead of us when it comes to IWM. If IWM does well, everything else is going to do well. Like this is really the backbone of the U.S. economy, and I think that if that does well, everything else is going to do well. This is ARK Fund, Cathie Wood's ARK Fund. You have some very positive development here, which is a very negative sloping 21 week average has now flipped into a positive sloping support here, right? Whenever you have flat to go into positive, that's usually when you start having a bull trend. I think we're starting to develop a little bit of a bull trend over here, and it might just be like the beginning of it. I'm not saying that we're going to go back to all-time high within the next 3 to 5 years, because I'm actually not sure whether or not we will or not. But it doesn't matter. You don't have to make to all-time high to make a lot of money in the stock market. You have a perfect market symmetry here. If you're looking at a Gantt square that I've drawn here with 360 and 1 on the monthly, and you can see how beautiful the market symmetry has been based on these arcs, back tests, and based on the angle over here. You can just see how beautiful all these things are, right? I do think right now we're kind of stuck underneath the 0.136 Fibonacci level. I do think that price is going to end up gravitating up towards this arc up here, and also maybe around 0.382 here over the next couple of years. So you're talking about doubling the ARK fund, which could potentially be a lot of gains for a lot of different stocks, beyond what you would imagine just looking at ARK fund, because all the things might end up outperforming that too. Let's say, for example, if it doesn't hit up there, let's see, I'm going to look at different targets here. If it doesn't hit up here to the arc, where it's going to hit? Well, at least it's going to hit to the 0.236 here, which is going to be the bottom of this very thick Ichimoku cloud, right? That you're still talking about potential like 30% gain over here, right? So it's nothing to sneeze at. If you're also looking at the Ichimoku, you can also see it a bullish cross here in Tenkan Nikijin, and right now price has reclaimed the Tenkan, the blue line over here. And this is a very, very important indication to tell me that, hey, a bull trend is starting to develop, and I think it's going to look pretty good here, right? So that's another confirmation that I have, and I don't want to make this video here too long, but I do want to talk about gold here because I think it's important to discuss this. Even gold is going to do very well, and the reason why I say that is because there's increase in global liquidity. I drew this on 1440 and 5, and you can see how beautiful this market symmetry has given me, right? Arcs is serve as resistance, flip from support here, went up a lot higher, right? Serve as resistance over here, we were able to push through that, and right now we actually have pushed through a horizontal line over here, which means the price is probably end up gravitating up towards the 4,000 level, which is insane to think about. But you also have to consider too, I think gold is one of the early movers when it comes to a bull market. It just is, right? Like you have to think about gold as one of the early movers for bull market, because that's also what happened last time too. Because it really does seem like during the 2021 bull market, actually, yeah, during 2021 bull market, it really does look like it was kind of going up a lot higher, right? But during the 2020 bull market, gold was actually one of those, when it started printing money, it was one of those that really ran a lot higher from like the 1500 all the way up to like 2000. That really was exhausting this entire bull trend over here, and it was one of the early runners. And then after August of 2020, everything else ran, but gold ended up underperforming, right? Here, what's happening right now, I think we might be at the beginning of an early market, bull market. You just push through the 1.618 level over here. You do the Fibonacci level, Fibonacci sequence level over here. We just push through the 1.618 level here like it's butter. Where's it going to gravitate up to? Probably the 2.618 or the arc up here. It's in such a strong bull trend. I think it's probably going to end up continuing, and we're probably going to end up getting punished for it later for the gold bugs. But it's probably going to go up there, and you're probably going to end up filtering it here for years, right? But this is an early indication that, hey, maybe we're at early bull market, kind of like how we were over here before August 2020. We had a huge run up in gold, and then money rotates to everything else, and everything else pumps, right? So I wonder if gold is going to keep on going, but eventually it's going to end up rotating things out to other things, and we're going to end up having a bull market in a lot of many other things instead, right? That's kind of what I'm seeing here. Now I'm going to finish up this video real quick with other things here too. First of all is the Chinese index. Right now I just cannot really be that bearish on it anymore, because the Hang Seng has flipped the 20-month moving average from negative sloping to positive sloping. Like, this is a very big trend change. It's been flipping a 3-year downtrend to an uptrend now. I think that there's still a lot of juice for the Chinese market. There's a lot of liquidity being injected. So I think the Chinese market is going to do very well. I think the Japanese market also is going to do very well, no matter how many scares they have. I think the Japanese markets also have a very, very nice uptrend of the 20-month moving average. And during the yen carry trade, we really just kind of backtest the rising 20-month moving average. This is what happens in a very powerful bull trend. It doesn't care about what narrative you have. Backtested it. It's a rising 20-month moving average. It's a bull market. It's going to keep pushing up a lot higher. Looking at the market symmetry here, if I just kind of take that out, I did draw a Gann chart here. And I do think that we're right now, the reason why we have the yen carry trade scare is because doing this Gann square around 1440 and 5,000, you're going to see that we're at, a resistance here at the arc, and we got rejected over here almost perfectly. And I do think that given time, it's going to push out, and it's probably going to go up to the next level, which means that there's a potential for the Nikkei for the Japanese market to double over the next 5 years. I think there's a potential for that to happen because of increasing global liquidity. Just look at how nice the symmetry is on this Gann here. But I do think that we might be at a conjuncture because of increased global liquidity. We're probably going to bring about this arc. That means everything is going higher, including guess what? Including Bitcoin. If you're looking at Bitcoin, if you're looking at the history, and I can draw again here from 720 and 10,000, you can see a very, very nice market symmetry where every single cycle seems like it's hitting an arc. Well, except for this one here, is kind of in the middle of nowhere, but every single cycle seems like it's hitting an arc over here and getting rejected, come back down, eventually push through to the next level, right? Right now we have been rejected on the last cycle here. We got close to it, but we got rejected, right? What happened now? We were able to push through, and right now we're back testing the arc from resistance over here to support, right? We did end up getting rejected here, horizontal line over here, but I think we're building a lot of energy to really push through the zone over here. The reason why I say that, I'm going to open the Ichimoku here. I think that we're at a very, very similar spot over here where the Tenkan is rising and giving enough energy to push price higher through this horizontal zone over here in the setting of increased global liquidity, right? In the setting of increased global liquidity, in the setting of breakout of this global liquidity over here, right? So I think this is probably going to pushing price a lot higher. This really does remind me of the area down here in around 2016 or so, where you are also basically finding support here at the arc, right? And you're, let me see, I'm probably better if I just turn off the Ichimoku. You're finding a support here at the arc, right? And you're also, this is also happening in the setting of having had like a breakout of global liquidity over here, like you had a breakout that just happened a few months ago. And here you're also in the process of kind of more or less kind of breaking out about the zone over here too, right? To go higher. So you are getting stuck between the arc here, you're getting stuck between the horizontal zone over here, and global liquidity is rising in the context of this. So what happens after this ends up having another like 12 to 18 months of very, very impulsive price action here, right? We're at a very, very similar juncture right here, right? Where we have the global liquidity rising, we're stuck between these two things, and it looks like the Tenkan over here is rising, looks like it wants to push it through, right? And over here, it looks like what happened, the Tenkan over here is also rising, the blue line over here is also rising, looks like it wants to push it through, and it did. So I see a lot of similarities between these two areas. It just makes me think that, we're probably going to end up doing pretty darn well overall. I could keep going, but I think this is a pretty good summary with half an hour video in terms of why I think that the everything rally is upon us, is on the backbones of all these Fibonacci based Gann square, all of these Fibonacci levels I was showing you, and the rise of global liquidity, the break of momentum RSI, And this is happening across multiple assets. You're talking about the index funds, S&P 500, Nasdaq, the potential outperformance that's coming with the QQQ and SPY over SPY, the Russell 2000, ARK Fund, gold, China, Japan, and Bitcoin. I am more excited about this than ever, and I cannot really be that bearish here at this point in time. Anyway, thank you so much for listening to this 30-minute video. Have a great one. Bye.